So parents, as you're joining, if you can please remember to rename yourself with your school at the beginning or in the middle of your name, so we can identify who is here, and that way we know when we've met quorum and can start the meeting. As you'll see, I've labeled mine with PSIS 499, where I am the president of.
So
And
at
also,
6:32, we're continuing to welcome people.
and as you can see, we are being recorded. So if you do not want your face to appear on the recording, you'll want to make sure to keep your camera off. Feel free to speak even if your camera is off. We welcome all participation.
All right, it is 6:32. You let me know when you're ready to start. Recording's already set, I think.
Do we have quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Since I don't recognize some of the names, I can't tell if we have quorum or not.
So let me
I'm
see.
trying to rename myself and having difficulties.
So Myrna, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I only count 8 because they have numeration. There's some people that are not have not put their school. If you can go ahead and put your school next to your name, please, so we can count for quorum. 499, 164, 379, 21, 189, that's 5, 201 is 6, 219 is 7, 201 is 8, 219 is 9, 32 is 10, 193 is 11. You're more than quorum, you're set.
Okay,
Welcome, everybody.
we're ready to go.
Hello.
Hello. For those that are just joining in, if you can please put your PS, whatever school you're from, please. For the guests, we're gonna have our for the guests that are arriving, Elizabeth and Tabel, we're gonna go ahead and have the start of the meeting. The superintendent goes next, then Tabel, and then you, Elizabeth.
Before Dr. Mike, I do have some minutes to review now that we have a full board. We can review and approve the minutes from June of 2024 and September. And then next month we'll have October and November.
All right, 6:35, you're ready to start?
Okay.
All right, go.
Welcome, everyone. We thank you for joining the November meeting of President's Council. Esther, can you make me a co-host, or Lewis, so that I can share my screen?
Got it. There you go.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen so that we can review the minutes. Okay, so first we're going to do from June of last year. The date was June 10th. We had a welcome from Esther, a reminder of those that still needed to conduct elections. We held the elections for president, recording secretary, and treasurer. I was made president. There were no nominations for recording secretary, so the position was named vacant, and Mirna Pacheco was elected as treasurer. Then we had a brief superintendent report from Dr. Mike. He thanked all the parent leaders that have stepped up to serve in their schools. Reminder of the end of year responsibilities, that the meetings are held every third Monday of the month. And information from President's Council is shared via parent coordinators to share with the PTA board. The meeting adjourned at 7:03 p.m. Does anyone have any questions, changes, or modifications for the June 2024 meeting minutes? please speak up. And Esther, if you can monitor the chat, or Jenny, if you can monitor the chat for any comments, since I can't see it as I'm sharing my screen.
Monitoring. No questions.
Okay, so then we will go to the September 2024 meeting minutes. This was held on Monday, September 16th, 2024. Esther started off the meeting with an overview of President's Council, introduced the new executive board, introduced Eden Rubenstein from the CEC, introduced present members of Team Awesome, and reminder of the website. We again tried to fill the recording secretary position, but were unsuccessful. So the June minutes were tabled since we did not have a full board. Superintendent report from Dr. D'Antona. He started off the meeting with connection before content about community building, went over some celebrations around the district, discussed the district vision, talked about the adult education program, which he's actually participating in tonight. We reviewed details about all of the 5 priorities that are citywide, reviewed a district-wide training schedule, overview of chronic absenteeism, progress monitoring. There was a question from a member about bringing back the shared information at President's Council to our PTA meetings. And that is not only allowed, it's encouraged. Also, the meeting is recorded and available to the public. Another question about SLT meetings being open to parents, and anyone is welcome to join as an observer. However, only SLT members can speak or participate, and it's subject to open meetings law. Information about chancellor's regs, membership drive, the meetings for the year, reminder about the DOE external email addresses. Some helpful websites were reviewed. Some events coming up. The reminder that CEC has 2 vacancies. Some additional websites were shared. And then a question, does the meeting with the principal and parent coordinator need to be in person, or can it be through Zoom? And either one is acceptable. The next meeting will be held October 21st. And then the meeting adjourned at 8:07. Does anyone have any questions about the September 2024 President's Council minutes? Okay, if there are no questions, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If somebody could make a motion to accept the minutes for June and September as they have been read, and state your name.
Jennifer Doing Chan, move to approve the minutes as shared.
Thank you, Jennifer Doing Chan. And can I have a second and state your name for the minutes?
Marina Pacheco, I second.
Okay, thank you so much. If all are in favor, if you could just put a thumbs up in the chat. If you're opposed, you can put a thumbs down in the chat. Okay, it looks like everyone is in favor. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So right now it's unanimous that the minutes for June 2024 and September 2024 have been approved. Okay, thank you all for your participation in this portion of the meeting. And now I'd like to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. D'Antona.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Nice to be in company with you guys tonight. I'm going to share a few things with you just in regards to some updates around things going on around the district, as well as just a brief overview of performance for our students for our first go round with our BOY assessments, to give you guys a little bit of a picture of our performance as a district community. And certainly be available for any questions that you guys might have as a result. So here we go. So some of the updates that I want to go over with you, just a few things that have happened in the month since we've been able to talk. We did have our ribbon cutting for the Paul Vallone Community Campus. We did have a number of our local elected officials present, as well as parents from across the district community, and certainly the Vallone family. It was a really very well done event. You know, I thank Principal Rosa and Principal Abbott for organizing this ribbon cutting. And you know, I know the school is going to work really, really hard to make sure that they meet up to the name of the expectations of the name of Paul Vallone. I think he did a really number of really great things for our community, and was really proud to have this happen on that day. So big shout out to our community for that. A few things just for you to also know as PTA or PA presidents. One of the things that I've asked all of our school leadership teams to do, and just a reminder for you guys, is there's a language access rubric that I've asked all of our schools to go over with our at our school leadership team meetings, to assess the current space of how we're communicating with families who speak languages other than English. There's also a language access needs survey that I've asked all of our schools to send out to the community by the end of November, with the goal of making sure that it's part of a school leadership team conversation. You know, while, you know, we do attempt to make sure that things are consistently translated and provide those oral translations over the phone, we do want to make sure that things are accessible to our community, which is the reason why I've asked all of them to do this work. This was an outgrowth of our district leadership team, and our parent members from the CEC last school year. So we're continuing that work this year to make sure that we're doing all that we can to provide that language support for our families. And one of those things is, Rachel mentioned, I'm actually at IS 237 tonight. They have a District 79 adult education program that's taking place here, to support families in learning the English language. And at some point, they'll also be adding a GED program here as well, to support families that want to get that degree. So we're really excited about that. We did hold our virtual math parent workshop in late October. On this particular slide, you'll see the other dates that we have accessible for families. I do encourage you as parents, to PTA presidents, PA presidents, to please join if you're available. And if not, just make sure you spread the word during your meetings that we do have these opportunities for you to hear from some of our district team members who are presenting, so you're fully aware of what we're expecting inside of our schools. We also had an iReady parent workshop, and all of these things that we offer are available on our d25.nyc site/event. And the video recordings are present there as well for anyone that was unable to attend. Parents can go on there and see it at their own pace. If you want to, you know, zoom through it, you're welcome to zoom through it. If you want to just kind of pause and get a little bit of an idea of what iReady is about, how iReady can be supportive of you as a parent, it is there, and I encourage anyone who has not to give that a look, because it does give you some important information as to the programming that we're using with our kids. Acadience also is something that our district team had done. iReady was facilitated by a member from iReady themselves, but the Acadience workshop was delivered by one of our team members. We did it for kindergarten, first grade, as well as second grade. The video links are available on our YouTube channel that we have, which you'll find at d25.nyc/event. Also, really important information for our families about our kids that have taken the screener, particularly for our kids in K1 and 2, in supporting our understanding of how they perform as readers. So I encourage you, if you haven't taken a look at this, that you do as a PTA or PA president, and also bring that back to your schools, especially for our youngest learners. It's really a good tool and good resource for you, as it provides helpful tips on how you can help your child at home. This is just a list of all of our upcoming events, including our first special education virtual parent workshop, which is being held tomorrow. So I do encourage any of our families that are not aware, that have questions around special education, particularly reviewing the different sections of an IEP, that you make yourselves available to hop on and or view the recording, which will be done for each of these sessions. So the workshop will be from 6 to 7 on Tuesday the 26th. So I encourage you to do that. For any of our Chinese speaking families, we did a workshop for our English language learner parents to make them aware of the literacy program that we're offering. What was really special about this particular event was that it was completely done in Chinese. So any of our families that did need some language support, it was delivered by a Chinese speaking staff member on our team. We are also doing this on December 3rd for our Spanish speaking families, to make sure that there's a raised awareness as to what the expectations are in our classroom. So again, they are recorded, so I encourage you guys, if you haven't been able to be there and you know that you have families that might need some additional support, that you can consistently point them to that site, because I think it is helpful. So one of our most, this shouldn't be upcoming, this is our current event that just passed. We had our annual Thanks for Giving walk and book giveaway. So we had hundreds of folks that came in through Bound Park as we engaged in a kind of a turkey trot, where we engaged in a walk. Parents and children donated food. We had music. We had Mr. Met join us. We had a number of different vendors from Bricks for Kids was there, and we had oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the other person that was there, but there lots of giveaways and opportunities for our kids. And we also raffled 13 bicycle helmets, a bicycle itself, some gear from New York City Lax, and different pairs of Nike sneakers. So it was a really cool event. We do plan on having more of those in the future, to just continue to connect with our families. But I appreciate all of our team members that were there for that, supporting that day, and our community members. We had CEC members that were present, supporting the event as well. So thank you to all of our community that was there. A big shout out for Senator Liu. Senator Liu was present, as well as one of our local officers from the 109th Precinct. So we thank them for being there to represent and support a great evening, early afternoon rather. Just a reminder, the 23rd is a newly added day to winter recess. So make sure that you've marked your calendar for that. This was as a result of a middle schooler that kind of did some outreach to the mayor's office and got upwards of 23,000 signatures on a petition, as I understand it, to support the cause of adding this as a day for winter recess. So that has been done. Please make sure that you've added that to your own calendars if you haven't already. Enrollment dates. This I'm going to share with you during each one of our President's Council meetings moving forward, so that everyone is aware of start and end dates for the application processes. Excuse me, high school admissions process, Tuesday, October 1st. High school applications were due for LaGuardia and specialized high school admissions test. Registration had opened. Friday, October 18th, registration closed. Wednesday, December 4th, high school and LaGuardia applications closed. And Thursday, March 6th, high school offers will be released. Middle school admissions, Tuesday, October 15th, middle school application opens. I know that there was a little bit of a glitch with that, but that is all okay now. Friday, the 8th, deadline to register for the Mark Twain and District 2021 talent tests. December 20th, middle school applications close, and the 9th of April is when middle school offers are released. Tuesday, December 10th, kindergarten and kindergarten G&T applications open. Friday, January 24th, kindergarten G&T applications close. And Wednesday, April 2nd, kindergarten G&T offers will be released. 3K pre-K, January 15th. 3K and pre-K applications open. The 28th, 3K and pre-K applications close. Tuesday, May 13th, pre-K offers are released, and May 20th, 3K offers are released. Gifted and talented, grade 1 through 4, Monday, April 21st is when the application opens. Friday, May 9th, G&T upper grade applications close, and then on June 11th, G&T upper grade offers will be released. Whoops. Okay, now just to go over, and I know I've shared our district priorities and goals with you in the past, but I'm going to quickly go over this to give you a little context as to where we are performance-wise after the initial screening in our schools, which occurred in throughout the month of October. So our first goal was around all students learn to read well, use of decodable text. The goal of that is to improve outcomes for our learners. What we have seen for the beginning of the year assessment, our beginning of year screener, we're about 3% higher than where we were our starting place last year, which is certainly a good sign. We want to be able to build on that work moving forward as a district. Our Hispanic learners were 1% higher. Our Black learners were 3.3% higher. Our ENL learners 2.28% higher than last year. And our students with IEPs was nearly 9% higher than last year at this time. I do attribute that to some of the work that we've certainly been doing, and there were additional students that were added to this group that not as aligned 100% with last year's group, because it includes kids that just receive related services. But needless to say, we are at a higher rate overall this year than last. All students are physically and emotionally safe. Goal is to improve our SEL across the district, particularly in student-to-student relationships and our infractions. So one of the things that you will see here that is really important to note is the areas that are in need, particularly at the middle school level, are higher than our elementary school level. Self-management, which includes, how do I respond when a task is difficult? How do I manage my emotions? So we have more children either disagreeing or strongly disagreeing in those areas, as well as supportive environment where it's that kind of respect for each other was the question that really has us lingering as a district to make sure that our kids start taking some responsibility for that through group types of projects. And that's in this box down here below that I'm highlighting. This is where you'll see the overall rate of strongly disagree or disagree. Thankfully, we don't have very high rates in terms of these. For children that do need additional support, schools are connecting with our kids and our families to provide that additional support. But these larger percentage ones, like you see here in this grade 6 to 8 column with 17.83% overall, the question that was most concerning for me was the mutual respect that kids have for one another at the middle school. So we are working on that as a district community through our implementation of the Mind Up program, and really encouraging our kids to participate in social action types of projects. So more to follow on that, we'll share as the year goes on. Explicit instruction, as you know, is a big focus of ours, primarily the idea of really clear, concise models for our kids so that they have access to content. So year over year for the beginning of the year assessment, not very much of a big change from where we started the year last year to where we began this year. Is about a 0.6% higher performance rate for our kids at the start of this year than as the start of last, which is minimal at best. 1.6% for our Hispanic learners, 4% for our Black learners, 1% for our Ls, and 4% for our students with IEPs. And I break this up like this, guys, simply because these are our target groups as a district, which will be different from school to school. So every school has a subgroup of students that they are working on, or two. And we vary this because not every school has the same population in their building. So we leave that open for school leadership teams and building leaders to organize around. Priority 4 is our goal around mathematics. Our starting place for mathematics, again, similar to where we were last year, about 0.88% difference. Our Hispanic learners about 0.8%. Our Black learners about 2.4% higher than last year. Our L learners about 2% higher. And our students with IEPs nearly 3% higher than where they were last school year. This is just a small little rundown of what I actually just explained in another chart form. So if you wanted to review it, you're welcome to do that. But it's the same information. We just shared a survey via Gamma. We're going to continue to blast this out over the next couple of weeks, just to get some feedback from you around the current space of progress, of whether or not you're receiving progress reports of some sort from your schools, to make sure that you're informed around how your child is performing in school. And we're asking all of our schools to really engage our communities in these relational types of events and activities, which I'm also going to be gathering from the survey that was sent out to our schools. By the next session that we have, I will be able to share some of that data with you. And we'll do that survey again as the year goes on to gather additional feedback. Chronic absenteeism, our goal was to improve by 4%. Through October, we'll have another report as of at the end of the year. Through October, we have seen overall improvement in chronic absenteeism rates. We're reduced by about 3% from where we were last year. And depending on the subgroup, upwards of almost 5% for our students with IEPs. Our overall attendance rate is actually a bit higher than this. Right now, we're about 95.2% overall for overall attendance rate, which means we have the second highest attendance rate in New York City, and the second lowest chronic absenteeism rate, which means that we are making improvements here. And to me, this is really crucial because the more that our kids are in school, the greater likelihood they're going to be able to hold on to the content that we're teaching. So a lot more work to do here, especially as the winter is starting to kick in, weather's starting to get colder, holidays are starting to come. This is where we typically start seeing a little bit of a reduction. And over the past couple of weeks, we've actually seen our overall attendance drop by 0.2%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about 24,000 children in a district, each one of those tenths that we reduce actually amounts to a good number of kids. So we're going to continue to emphasize this in our schools. Certainly and I'll mention this every time too, we're not asking children to come into our buildings when they're sick, but we want to be mindful as community members that if they're not sick, they should be in the building. And that concludes my report for today. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of them. That's where we are as of now.
Can I say something really quick, Rachel?
Yes.
For all of you that are here, and if you need to turnkey this information that Dr. Mike just shared with us, just go to the recording on our website and you can go ahead and play the part where Dr. Mike shared, and you can go ahead and turn that information to your PAP at your PAPTA meetings. Our next presenter or the following presenter, if you want to share that information with your PAPTA, you could just direct to the website to listen to the recording or play a portion of the recording at your meeting. And that way that ensures that you're turnkeying the information that you're learning at President's Council. That's it.
Okay,
And
thank you so
I
much.
apologize in advance for that raspy voice that I got going on in there. So if you do wind up sharing that recording, just give me a little bit of a disclaimer. Sorry for that raspy guy in the background.
Dr. Mike, if you're sick, you're allowed to stay home.
No, not sick. This is all from cheering. I'm
Too
gonna have a
much
selfish
cheering. Too
plug-
much
a selfish
cheering.
plug. My daughter just played in the state volleyball championship for her high school, and they actually won the state championship this weekend. So I was screaming
It's
like a little bit of a goon.
amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks so much.
Awesome. Go, Emily.
Yeah, proud dad here. Proud dad.
That's a good reason to lose your voice. Definitely preferable over being sick. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mike. We always appreciate having you at our meetings, and we appreciate the updates. And I was taking copious notes so I can share your information onto my next PTA meeting, which is on Wednesday. So Esther, next on the agenda.
Next we have Tabel Reyes, who is from Elevate, and he's here to talk to us about Elevate. And Tabel, welcome aboard. Welcome to District 25 President's Council. Please take it away. And I think we made you co-host. Hold on.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
I
you're a
do
co-host.
apologize for the telemarketer headphones. I am in a Latino home during the Thanksgiving season, so there are tons of little kids, aunts and uncles screaming above me. So had to wear these headphones instead. But thank you so much for the opportunity to share. Dr. Mike, great seeing you again. So my name is Tabel Reyes, representing Elevate Education. Just wanted to give a quick rundown as to who we are, what we do, and how we might be able to support your parent and regarding communities and your school communities alike. Elevate Education, we are a company really centered on helping students develop study habits and academic confidence, but also helping parents and how they can support their child at home. Now, there's so many amazing organizations, doing tons of work, financial literacy, nutrition. Dr. Mike, you alluded to some of those other workshops as well that are coming up. It's a little bit out of the scope of what Elevate does, because our goal is to help equip parents with some resources in terms of how they can help their child succeed academically at home, what they can be doing, and what areas. So, one of the things that we identified, especially during the pandemic, the role of, I'm a parent myself, I have two children, but understanding the multiple roles that we juggle, and we want to help, and many of our parents might not know how to help. Many of our parents might not know the language, might not just have are so removed from school. I know, like my daughter's math, sometimes I'm still like, wait, what? That's how you long divide. But nonetheless, there are opportunities that parents can actively be doing, and that's where Elevate fits in. Right now within District 25, we're actually working with about 10 schools. So you might be familiar with our name, you might not. We might be working directly with just the students, but we're at IS 237, at Middle School 250, 29 and 20, just to name a few. But you might be familiar, as I mentioned, but I'd love to have an opportunity to just highlight a little bit of the work. So I'm just going to share my screen here quickly to give you some insight into the workshops that we do. But I want to take a step back and give you some our workshops. We run 8 o'clock in the morning through 8 o'clock at night. We run workshops in person or remotely. Our goal is to, really just what makes sense for the school community, what drives out most parents and engages the most parents. That's how, that's when we run those workshops. So many of our programs, we do them in the evening, some early mornings at drop off in person. So we're very flexible in terms of what we can do. Our workshops can be facilitated in English and in Spanish and live instruction, but we also have we are building a team to be able to do it in Chinese as well, but we also have subtitles that many of our schools utilize as well to pick up any feedback and give the closed captions along with all of our materials being translated across 6 languages. So as part of the partnership, we'd be able to provide those follow-up resources and guides and videos in multiple languages. Just want to walk you quickly through some of the workshops that we're able to offer. So if you're looking for ways to support, and bring something new in, or something that might, engage your parents in an area that, might have been discussed in the past, perhaps Elevate could be a partner. And I give you some insight here. So I'm just going to share my screen to walk you through the 6 offerings that we have. So we have 6 workshops. Now, these topics, what's great is actually we interviewed parents. So right now we work with about 400 schools across New York City public schools. And we wanted to identify some areas where we can support that fit our scope around that academic habit building. So one of the first areas that a lot of our parents kept reporting was on time management, and seeing, how they can support their children with their time management abilities. That's something that we see quite often, that executive functioning skill really lacking in our students. So a lot of our parents wanted just more skills and resources in terms of how they can help their child manage their time more effectively. The other workshop is on, it's titled The Home Study Environment. This is one of the things that we hear often, is a lot of schools and parents reporting, oh, my child just doesn't have focus, and they're really distracted when they're attempting to do work. So one of our goals is just to talk that through and give parents some resources in terms of how they can improve a child's productivity. How can they help create the most conducive learning environment when their child is actually going to do something academic at home. Then, you know, we have some SEL workshops here. Personally, one of my favorites is on goal setting and motivation. Again, we hear so often that their child might not be motivated to do schoolwork or to want to go to school, or and our goal there is to how can we as parents help change the mindset of our children? How can we help change the language in our home and develop a growth mindset language, and how we can encourage and be aligned and in tune with the goals of the parents? You know, it's something that we see become quite a vicious cycle, especially like when we see students in high school and we hear back from parents saying, I have no connection with my child's goals, and knowing that. So it really starts early on. That's why we try to bring these workshops forward at, for our earlier elementary schools and middle schools alike. The next topic is on managing stress, and that's something that obviously I think we're all can use a bit, especially in the holiday season. But there's two parts of this workshop that I really like. One, it's identifying stress in our children. Not every child is going to have the verbal fluency and the emotional intelligence to say, "Mom, Dad, Uncle, Grandpa, Grandma, I am so stressed right now." But there are some indicators that we might be aware of, things that we should be looking out for, and then, so we help parents navigate that space, as also for themselves, right? Like how can they manage their own stress that they might see you know, impact them, and how they can, uh, you know, one, make sure they're taking care of themselves so that they can then help their children. The next topic is on procrastination. I think we're all guilty sometimes of saving things for last minute, rushing through deadlines, not getting things done on time, and we want to be able to combat that a bit in a healthy way, and how we also help our children avoid that. I mean, I have a freshman daughter right now who, you know, we've been working a lot, let's just say, but that's an area that I know many of our parents and students alike can use some support in. And then lastly is on bullying and conflict. This actually came 2 years ago. A lot of our parent coordinators and partners came to that, brought that the attention that, hey, a lot of our parents are misguided a bit, and don't understand that, aren't differentiating the differences between bullying and conflict. They're just calling everything bullying. So part of our goal within this workshop is to help inform parents the differences between, you know, actual bullying and this general conflict, but then how we can navigate that space, how we can build a self-advocacy plan and address some concerns to the school within a healthy manner. These are the 6 topics, and when we work with different schools, you know, part of my job, I present to you know, a lot of PTAs, vetting Title I committees as well, part of the party and parent coordinators alike, and just have that conversation and seeing, you know, which topics might make the most sense for their school community. You know, it's a la carte, it's a menu. So although some schools do select, you know, run all 6, others will identify which make the most sense for their community and their needs. Um, and yeah, obviously there is a cost associated with this. We are a vendor to New York City Public Schools, and the cost is a very simple cost. It's a flat rate of $345 per workshop. So if you're looking at, you know, wanting to run a few, that's the math there. There's no hidden fees or anything like that, but it does include follow-up resources, videos, and a parent portal. So every workshop has that additional support for parents and different activities, different ideas to help you know, turn these skills into habits ultimately. Um, but yeah, at this time, I mean, I would love to open the floor for any questions you might have, and I'm able to clarify. I can also drop in the chat this document here, so you have access to, as well as my calendar. So if there's any interest of, hey, I want to meet with you, just talk a bit more, you know, to learn more, I'll actually put this in the chat now. You can click my link. You could literally book me in the time that you see available. If I'm available, so we can have that conversation. But I'd love to open the floor if anyone has any questions that I might be able to address.
And before we get to the questions, I just want to say from a personal perspective, my District 26 high schooler son class, they use Elevate Education for our parents, and it's something that we pay out of our Title I funds. So I know he did briefly mention Title I, but for those of you that are Title I schools and have that 1% set aside to use for parent education, this is a perfect opportunity for you to utilize established vendor for the benefit of your parents.
Thanks, Rachel.
Sure.
Any questions? Any Awesome. Well, great. If you do have any questions and don't want to ask it now, you can email me as well. I'll put my email in the chat, or as I mentioned, you could just drop in and we could set up a time to connect. But let me just put it here, and then There it is. I
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you, Tabell. And also our DPAC, our Title I Parent Advisory Committee wants to also have you as a guest, so we'll let you know. Their meeting's tomorrow. I doubt it you can make it tomorrow, but we'll definitely set you up for December.
Is it in the evening? Because I can make it happen. Same time or, well, we
yeah,
could talk. You could email me if
Yeah, I
anything.
mean, tomorrow at 6:30,
Yep.
so you'll go on around 7?
Yeah, I should be able to make that happen.
All
I'll
right,
be
so-
home, so
All
with
right,
the little one.
just if you could do the same thing for them, that would be great.
Yeah, excellent.
All right,
I
so
appreciate it so
tomorrow.
much. Happy Thanksgiving to all, and thanks for the time. I'm gonna sign off respectfully. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
so
for
much,
joining
Tabell.
us.
Of course.
Okay.
Take care.
So we did have a PowerPoint, so Jenny's gonna go ahead and share.
I have it. I can share it.
No,
I'll
no,
share it.
no, this is another PowerPoint.
Oh,
I mean, we have a PowerPoint that had other stuff in it.
okay.
You're muted, Jenny.
Sorry, it's the same PowerPoint, so I can share or Beth can share either way.
Yeah, but we had some guest speakers before, like we skipped Eden.
Yeah.
next.
Can I I'm up to my slide. Can I just share from my slide?
But Eden's next. She just has a 2
Okay.
minute. Yeah. Eden, she there?
I'm here, sorry. Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm helping with homework at the same time. Good evening, everyone. So we did have our Chancellor Town Hall last Monday. It was a huge success. Thank you for anybody that did participate. Our next meeting is actually December 4th at 7 p.m. You could be in person or online, but I do have a special meeting that is occurring at 6:30 that evening prior to the calendar meeting for 2 candidates for the council, because we do have those vacancies. And we also have 2 possible administrative assistant candidates that we are narrowing it down to coming in that day for us to meet again in person. So we are making some progress there. And the chancellor took back some of the other questions that couldn't be answered that day, and they will get back to us with those. But please join the meeting. If you have anything you need help with, please reach out to us. If there's a topic of interest that you want us to talk about, let us know. But that's really it. So thank you, guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right.
Okay, so next on the agenda, I believe we have instructional lead Beth Eaton from the District 25 Team Awesome.
Yeah. Your co-host already.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna just make my screen larger. Oops, sorry. I was on the right slide. Now I'm not. Okay, so hello, everybody. Nice to see you all again. Just wanted to take a little bit of time and share a little about math, what's been happening in math. I know some of us might have heard about the New York City initiative for mathematics that's coming down the pipeline that New York City solves. So I wanted to just share a little about that and some of the shifts in math instruction that we've seen. So here's a little bit behind the rationale for the New York City Solves initiative. This initiative comes from Central, and the idea behind the initiative is really to ensure that all of our children are graduating on a pathway to rewarding careers and long-term economic security. And we believe that our students need to be equipped to be a positive force for change. And that can be done through the implementation of mathematics, of equitable mathematics instruction, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the need for equitable mathematics instruction. I'll talk a little about the curriculum implementation that might be, that's coming down the pipeline. And then just as a reminder, all of this is in service of supporting our students and having those rewarding careers, economic security, and ready to be a positive force for change. When we're thinking about that economic security, right, or being prepared for those rewarding careers, I just wanted to share with you a few math occupations that are in need at the moment, right? These are, this is from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. And it says here, the highlighted piece says, overall employment in math occupations is projected to grow faster than the average for all occupations from 2023 to 2033. And so what does that mean? That means that we can think about those jobs, the job market being in high demand for these math occupations, right? And here's just an example of some of the different occupations that are in need. We have actuaries with a median pay, of about $120,000. Data scientists, especially when we think about all the data that all of our AI and different programs that we use on the computer are collecting. The data scientists are really needed at this point, and starting median pay is about $108,000. Mathematics and statisticians, require a master's degree, but still in that $100,000 range. And then another job in need is the operation research analysis, right? So just an idea of some of the different positions. I don't know about you, but when I was in school, these were not jobs that I ever had thought about. Many of them are newer positions, especially not newer, but more in demand, as I said, and require students to have good mathematical knowledge. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the K-12 math shifts. Many of them are things that we are already doing in our district and have been doing in our district for a while, but these are the shifts that's put forth by the New York City math team. So in mathematics, we're moving away from beginning with modeling to towards that beginning with sense making. We're moving away from using different tasks based on prior performance to more of a shared low floor, high ceiling task. We're moving away from using discourse to demonstrate understanding to discourse to develop understanding, from that deficit-based support to more of an asset-based support. And then our last big piece, which is where we'll be moving towards next year, we're moving away from using lots of materials from a variety of sources to just one shared high-quality instructional materials. And we're going to dig into these a little bit deeper as I continue on. But first, I want us to think about some math, right? Who's excited to do math tonight? I'm going to give you a math problem. So here's traditional math in a sense, right? So teacher might start with an anchor chart around double number lines and some steps for how to solve problems using double number lines. So I'll give you a moment just to think about, to read through what double number lines are and then the different steps. And then there's a problem here that I'll ask you just to think about. So if you have an answer, you can go ahead and jot your answer in the chat. Or if anybody wants to unmute, we can also have you unmute and share.
I get a prize for answering correctly.
You do. What's your answer? 3 to 2. Okay, I can see some ratio and proportional thinking there. Anybody else want to give it a try? How many people feel like they're struggling or can't remember back to what they remembered around solving ratios, proportions, right? So a lot of times in class, traditional style of teaching, and in class, I would have introduced it a little bit differently, but we are online here. But often teachers will in traditional methods, right? So if we think about before, when we begin with modeling, teachers will start with, here's how you draw a double number line. We could see that in the anchor chart there. We have our cranberry juice, we have our soda water cups, and then notice everything's equally spaced. I have my equivalent ratios here. And so we're going to use this tool today to help us solve problems involving ratios, right? And so here are the steps that you need to follow to do that. First, you're just going to determine the ratio of the two quantities being examined. Second step, you're going to place the value of the ratios on your double number line. And third, you're going to fill in the values on the double number line by multiplying and dividing, if necessary, the values on each line by 2, 3, and 4, right? And so I'd go over and walk you through that. Then give you a problem for us to solve together or perhaps even independently, right? So we have here, Sarah made baskets on some of her shots in a basketball game. If she continues to make baskets at the same rate, how many baskets will she make in her next 6 shots? And so the challenge is for students who are struggling, right? There's a lot of information I just threw at you. Sometimes we don't know which numbers we're supposed to make. And so this style of teaching is not supportive for especially for our struggling learners, right? So we're going to shift towards more of the beginning with sense making, where I can kind of support you in making sense of the math before we engage in it. So let's take a look. I'm gonna actually, let me make this a little bit bigger, sorry. At our routine here, right? So still here are some ratios, double number lines we can see here. We have some other ratios here. I'm going to ask you just to take a minute and think about which 3 of these would you say go together. So if you were have to choose between A, B, C, and D, which 3 would you say go together and why? So I'll give you a moment just to look at this and think about that. And if anybody wants to unmute and share out, you're more than welcome to do that too.
I'm like, am I smarter than a 5th grader? That's trauma.
No wrong answers here. If anybody's thinking anything and you want to share, go ahead and just share out.
Well, I definitely see how A and B go together.
Okay, how?
Because if you look at the ratio of 2 to 1, all of the milk numbers divided by 2 equal the yogurt cups.
Okay, good. So we have 2 milks to 1 yogurt, or we could have 4 milks to 2 yogurts, right? And then you said in B, it's the same 2 to 1 ratio. We have the 6 to 3 here, but if we were to kind of move backwards down the line, we could divide the 6 cups of milk and the 3 cups of yogurt by 3 and come back to that 2 to 1 ratio, right? So for every 2 to 1 cups, or if I continued even this if I added another 2 milks and 1 more yogurt, we would have that 6 to 3 there. Any other ones have a 2 to 1? Do you see any others here that have a 2 to 1 ratio?
D.
D, right? And so we could say D also might go along with it because we see that same 2 to 1 ratio. The difference is this one is 2 cups of yogurt to 1 cup of milk. So we have more yogurt in this recipe that we're making than milk, but still that same 2 to 1 ratio. Great. So we actually have A, B, and D, we could say go together, right? Some of us might also, anybody else notice if you're looking at the the units. We have B, C, and D might go together because what do you notice about the units in B, C, and D?
Cups versus ounces.
They're all cups versus ounces, right? And so here's another thing. So I'm forcing you, I'm pushing you to think about the ratio of the different objects, but then also thinking about the units that are involved here. And we could continue on because there's a few different ways that we could say some 3 of these go together and 2 don't. But I'll just ask you for a minute, how did that feel in relation to this one? Probably some of us were still a little bit nervous, thinking about math. We always think when we hear math, we think has to be a right or wrong answer. But anybody want to share which one felt a little bit less stressful? Hopefully one of them. Awful. Oh, sorry, Delilah. You
Second
had
one
the
was
ratio.
definitely easier to visualize.
Yeah. And even thinking about maybe what your, if we were to go back now and I were to say, okay, so now think about this task here. How might you set that up on a double number line? You might have an easier time of doing that. Great. And so Delilah, just so you know, you did have the correct ratio for for shots to baskets, right? If we were to take for every 3 shots Sarah makes, she actually gets in 2 baskets. But it asked how many would she make in her next 6 shots. So we'd have to think about adding another 6 shots onto that. Totally fine though. All right, so just really wanted to give you an experience of what the difference would be for students, right? So when we are beginning with sense making, or excuse me, if we're moving from beginning with modeling, let's just say that first problem, this was where the math learning begins with the teacher showing the students a procedure for how to solve the problem, and the students practice it until it becomes routine. So we keep doing the same thing over and over again, drawing those double number lines until you let's say get it. And math was mostly about memorizing and answer getting, and learning is less transferable. And I would just challenge you to think back to 6th grade, your 6th grade. How many of you, when I gave you that problem around the basketball shots, remembered all those procedures or how to get that answer, even after all the different times that you solved problems like that, right? Probably for most of us, we have some thinking, but it doesn't come naturally to us. So we're going to move towards beginning with sense making, which would be that which 3 go together, and a sample of the which 3 go together, where math learning begins with students thinking about an unfamiliar problem and the ways they might use what they already know to solve it. So we're looking at the double number lines, thinking about what we already know, thinking about what we see here. And our job as the teacher was to help make the connections between the different ideas. So I could have made connections between the one visual with the boxes in comparison to the double number line. At home, we want families to discuss as many ways that you can use math as a tool for making sense of the world, right? So thinking about with your child, how, what are all the different ways that we use math in our world to help them think about where math lives and how we begin with sense making. If we go back to our which 3 go together routine here, here's how we see shift 1 living, right? So before the teacher teaches, we'll ask the students to carefully analyze and compare the 4 representations. So I asked you to look at them, compare them, and think about what you know, what's an idea that stands out to you, right? So gave you an opportunity to share all the things that you know. We started with, I'm sorry, I apologize who started, but somebody shared first around that 2 to 1 idea, the 2 milks to the 1 yogurt, which probably when you heard that, you were thinking, oh, right, let me look to see if I see that anywhere else. And then together we kind of identified that D also goes together. So that's an example of shift 1. Another example on shift 1 is where we were making comparisons, right? When I asked you to make the comparisons, we were actually attending to the reasons I'm sorry, we have, let me read that again. In making comparisons, students have a reason to attend to quantities carefully and use language precisely, excuse me. So we actually were looking at the different quantities that exist. We thought about how many milks we saw in comparison to how many yogurts. We looked at them on the double number lines and saw that same 2-to-1 ratio. And then when we got down to D, we said, oh, we still see the 2-to-1 ratio, but the quantities that it's representing just are different, right? It's the yogurt to the milk. In Math Shift 2, we are moving away from different tasks based on prior performance. This is where students in a class might be working on all different tasks at the same time, but they're really based on their level. And what happens when we do only this type of work is that students who are working below grade level just fall further and further behind because they never have the opportunity to engage in grade level tasks. Not to say that students who are struggling with one skill might need additional support, and you might want to think about providing them with tasks that will support that type of work. But during the whole class instruction, we really want to move towards having that shared low floor, high ceiling task, right? So I didn't start today with, oh, you guys know, I think you're ready for ratios and proportions, but you're not. You're still going to work on multiplication and things like that. Instead, we're going to just all work together on those shared low floor, high ceiling tasks so that which three goes together is a routine that is a shared low floor, high ceiling task because everybody should have some type of access into the task, right? It should be open enough to allow for a variety of strategies. We heard that there could be multiple different ways of thinking about it and deep enough to connect to important grade level standards. And if we're thinking about how we can support this at home, families can support students in being able to access the math tasks using routines such as the 3 reads, which I've shared with families and I'm going to share again at my next session in December. So let's go back to that same task and think about how this supports that the low floor, high ceiling, right? So when we look at it, we see that all students are engaging with the same task. Again, as I mentioned, there's multiple correct answers. And my job as the teacher is to help make important mathematical connections. So we could look at that 2-to-1 ratio. We could see even if we continued on the double number line of B, let's see if 12 cups of milk and 6 cups of yogurt, is that the same 2-to-1 ratio? Let's talk about that a little bit more. And we can kind of help use the task to kind of drive some of that learning here. Another example is as we're making, I'm sorry, I mentioned this one before, when we're making comparisons, they're reasoning about and attending to quantities carefully and using language precisely. I believe it should have been here. So we're talking about what those different quantities and relationships represent. Okay, for Math Shift 3, we're going to move from discourse to demonstrate understanding, where in the past, in traditional teaching, teachers often only would read the steps and then ask a question to help make sure everybody is following along with the procedures, or I would give you a bunch of vocabulary as you saw on that anchor chart. Here's a double number line. This is what it means. And then here's the steps for how to fill out a double number line, right? And I might ask you something like, what will we use a double number line for? How do you fill it out? What's the most important thing? And it's more of a back and forth kind of, I don't want to say conversation, but chat in the classroom versus a real discussion, right? And at the end of the lesson, the students are expected to just restate the procedures and share the vocabulary that they used during the lesson. Versus now, what we want to move towards is using discourse to develop understanding. So if I had put you into breakout rooms and asked you to talk about that which 3 go together, I'm sure many of you would have talked more about things that you were noticing, questions you might have had as you were looking at them, talking about what you maybe, does anybody remember what this is called? Somebody might remember it's a double number line, although I don't know my age, I don't think I ever used a double number line in middle school, but having those types of conversations together, right? And so this type of discourse is what drives the lesson, and it supports the students in really developing that understanding about the mathematics. They can discuss, they can write about, and they can even improve upon their ideas, both in writing and conversations as they're working on math problems. And at home, some things we can do are to support by listening, asking questions, connecting ideas, and formalizing concepts. Okay, so let's take a look at our which three go together. In shift 3, an example is students explain the meaning of any terminology they use, such as equivalent ratios, same rate, and per, and clarify their reasoning as needed. So I think somebody had said it's a 2-to-1 ratio in A and B, 2 ounces of milk for every 1 cup of yogurt, right? So we had that language kind of drawn out. I didn't necessarily front load it to you. It just came out as we were discussing. Another example of this shift is that the teacher hears how students use ratio language and talk about representations of ratios that they learned before they begin working with a new representation. So I'm listening to hear how you're using that type of language. And if you are trying to use language that's maybe a little bit, you're trying to describe something but don't have just the right word, that would be where I would give you that word to support you in your descriptions. In Math Shift 4, we're moving from deficit-based support, right? So moving away from thinking about what students can't do, only focusing on their struggles, because this creates those negative math identities and prevents students from engaging with grade level content, widening the gaps in learning, right? So think about yourself. How many of you loved math when you were in school? How many of you hated or maybe disliked math, and why? What were those reasons? Or how many of you felt that you were not good at math, right? That was that negative identity in the math class. And so we want to move away from that. And so to support students in feeling more positive about themselves, we're going to shift towards an asset-based mindset, right? Where the teacher is focusing on what students know and can do. They identify students' strengths, use this information to help their students make sense of the math, turn challenges into productive learning, and access grade level work, right? And at home, we can focus on what our students know and can do and help them have that growth mindset. So when we go back to our same task here, right? Whoever it was that started, again, I'm sorry. We started with, I see A and B is go together. And so I wasn't like, well, remember, you have to have 3 in order to get it right. I just kind of helped to guide by asking another question. I highlighted what was the strength that we noticed and then thought about, where else might you see that? And I'm hope that I didn't make anybody feel uncomfortable in doing that. So during the discussion in the which one doesn't belong, right? We see an example here. If students make a broad or vague claim, such as A and B show the same thing, the teacher has the ability to ask them to clarify the terms that they use. So we said A and B go together. It was like, why? Can you tell me more about that? And then where else do you see that same relationship, right? So I'm using what you're telling me, your strengths, to help you support you in taking your learning further. And then again, since there's no single correct answer to the question of which 3 go together, the teachers can attend to students' explanations and ensure the reasons given are correct. So really, there's no pressure in a task like this. Identifying something just as looking at the units and noticing there's cups in B, C, and D, whereas A has ounces, is a completely true and valid response, right? And it helps me also know a little bit about what you're paying attention to, that you know that units are important when in mathematics. And then our last shift, Math Shift 5, right? And so this is more of where the district comes into play. The other 4 are happening inside the classroom. This is where our district is going to support in this type of work in choosing that shared high quality instructional material. So we're moving away from using lesson materials from a variety of sources where teachers find a bunch of different self-made, informal or published curriculum materials that really we're not always sure as to how well they address the standards. It lacks coherence across the grade, and can cause lots of inconsistencies within a grade and even within a school and even our district, causing opportunity gaps which widen as the students grow. So we're going to move towards, for next year, that shared high quality instructional materials in math, which is where we're going to choose a shared curriculum that's research-based, field-tested, and on a diverse set of learners. And it really will allow our teachers in being able to dig into the mathematics that lives within the curriculum, or within the grade, I should say, and be able to support one another in order to improve their own practice and the practices that are occurring back at their school. And in doing so, students will be able to experience consistent and equitable instruction, right? And so when we're going back to that roadmap that we started with, how do we ensure that our students have that equitable instruction? The shared high quality instructional materials is kind of going to be our roadmap for how we can get there. So I just want to take a couple of minutes to share with you, and I might have to stop sharing and share my sound again. I'm going to take about 3 minutes. Here's just a little video of students in action. I know I'm talking a lot, but I figured the video is kind of powerful, and we don't always get a chance to see kids inside the classroom. So let me just stop sharing and make sure I'm sharing my sound. Okay, so this is the same routine that we just saw, or excuse me, that we just engaged in, and now you can see students engaging in the process.
Look at the warm up. I'm going to give you 1 minute to think about it. What do you think? Which 3 go together? Cindy, do you go to page 298?
Ricardo, which 3 go together? Name is Keita. Thank you.
Which 3 go together? Okay, so let's share with a partner. Which 3 go together? So everybody discuss with your partner or discuss within your group. What do you think? What 3 go together? Go. You can discuss with them, right? I will can you discuss with Roy? Name is, can you talk to him and see which 1, 3 go together? What do you think? 2, 3, B, C, and D. Why? Why B, C, and D? We said 2, 3, and 4. This, and this. Which 3 go together? A, B, C, and D. Giovanni, what do you think? A, C, and? Why?
Because but different ways.
Okay. What do you have different ways of showing it? What do you think? Which 3 goes together?
A, B, C.
Why? How this? Why A, B, and C are together? A, B, C, and okay. So you're saying milk is more than yogurt? That's what you're saying? What do you think, guys? Which 3 goes together? B, C, and D. Why?
Or 2 cups of milk. Choose a cup, 1 cup of milk or 2 cups of milk. It does not give us any context.
What do you think, guys? Which 3 goes together?
A and D.
B, C, and D. Why?
Why are you changing your answer? How do you know that that those three don't go together? What made you think those three go together?
Great.
What
Chair.
was it?
And 1. Who wants to share which 3 go together and why? Roy? A, B, and D. A, B, and D. A, B, and D. Why do you think so? A, B, and D are together.
Because something from either yoga or motion get times 2, like in we just have to times.
Okay, so you said it's times 2, and this is also something times 2. And what about D? So this is also times 2 relationship. Do we agree with that, what Roy was saying? A, B, and D, because they're showing the relationship, something is multiplying by 2 to get the another quantity, okay? Does anybody else have a different answer besides A, B, and D? Ivan?
A, B, and D for different.
Oh, A, B, and D for different reasons. What's your reason?
Because they all relate to some. They all relate to 3 in some way. Like in A and B, like they're like 3 things per group, and in B there's like 6, 12, and 18.
Hold on. Say it again. I'm sorry. Maybe I couldn't follow it. Ivan, what do you say?
They all relate to 3 in some way.
They all relate to 3 in some way. How?
A and D, they have 3 things per group, like 3.
Oh, 3 things per group. Okay.
Or you know, like all of them are multiples of 3.
Oh, all of them multiples of 3. Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to stop there. And so just to kind of share what the little boy at the end was saying when he was talking about the 3 groups, it goes back to what we were saying earlier around the 2 to 1. If we look at the whole group, if we were making a recipe, let's say, and I asked you how much dairy was in it, you would actually have 3 ounces of dairy in A, because there would be 2 ounces of milk and 1 ounce of yogurt, and together that's 3 ounces. If we look at the B, also you have those 3 ounces in total was really what they were looking at, right? And so, and the same thing with D, where we go down to D. You'd have 1 cup of milk, 2 cups of yogurt, but still that 3 cups of dairy in your recipe. So that's kind of where he was going there. Okay. So hopefully that was just eye-opening as to what a classroom could say. Anybody want to share something that you noticed or something you were thinking about as you were watching students engage in the same routine that we just did? Feel free to unmute if you'd like to share.
Well, I noticed there was definitely a lot of speaking. There was not anyone really sitting there quietly, just, not participating. That seems like there was a full class participation.
Yeah, and who was doing, and the students were doing the speaking, right?
Right.
And had a lot of great thinking as well. And they called out some of the things that we even spoke about together as a group. Awesome, thank you. Anything else? Just so you know, there were a lot of adults in the room because this is our curriculum review team. We were videoing it. So there were quite a few people kind of walking around listening in on students. And then our teacher was also nervous with everybody being in the room and also being videotaped. But I think she did a phenomenal job. I think if you were to watch the lesson continue on, the students really grasped the concept of the double number lines, which then led into also using ratio tables or tables to kind of compare quantities. Hopefully you noticed that the students had some time to think about things independently, right? They were beginning with their own sense making, then some time to work collaboratively, have those discussions. So we're looking at shift 3, and the teacher did not say any answer was, she validated every answer, even that last one when she wasn't sure at first what the little boy meant about the 3 in a group. She asked him to just explain it a little bit further so she can understand versus, no, that's not correct, right? So she really wanted to support understanding his way of thinking as well. Oops, sorry. So just a little bit about the shared, the shared curriculum. Here is some of the work that we are doing in choosing a curriculum. Currently, the district is reviewing 3 curriculums for potential adoption next year. We're reviewing the Amplified Desmos Mathematics curriculum, the Illustrative Math curriculum using the Imagine Learning platform, and the iReady Mathematics curriculum. All 3 curriculums address all of the shifts that I just mentioned. They all start with some kind of routine to support the students in making sense of the math. They all engage the students in the same shared low floor, high ceiling task. There's multiple opportunities for students to work collaboratively to make sense of the math. And then the teacher's role in all 3 of these curriculums is to help the students make connections between the different ideas that they have and the big concepts in math, right? Some of the nuances is that the Amplified Desmo does have a little bit more of a blended mathematics curriculum, right, with technology that connects to the classroom. In the schools that we've seen using Amplified Desmos, students are on the computers thinking about math, not every day, but more often than the other 2 curriculums that we're reviewing. But really find the computer-based work to be super engaging and leads to lots of discourse in the classroom around math. The Illustrative Mathematics curriculum is a curriculum that actually Amplified Desmos is also based off of. The Imagine Learning Classroom is a certified IM curriculum, which just means that they have to use the curriculum as it's written in its entirety. They're not allowed to change it. Still, the video that we just watched, that teacher was engaging in the illustrative mathematics curriculum. So the routine that we just engaged in was pulled straight from there. And the routines are really designed to help our English language learners engage in academic language demands of the reading, writing, speaking, and listening and representing in math. The iReady Math curriculum is a little different in the fact that it's aligned right to our iReady diagnostic program that we use in our classrooms. Again, it is designed to be more conceptual based, right? And students still start with that same routine like they would in the other 2 curriculums. But often there's just one task that students are working on together, and the student helps the teacher's role again is to help make the connections between the task they're working on and the math that they're learning. Just so you know, all 3 of the curriculums that we're looking at were rated highly by EdReports, if not perfect. So our Amplified Desmos, our Illustrative Math, and our iReady Math all received perfect scores in the focus and coherence section, meaning that they are well aligned to the standards. The rigor and the math practices, meaning that they incorporate many of those standards of mathematical practice that we want students to use, those good habits of mathematicians. Our tasks are rigorous, and the usability, right? The only one that received a little bit lower of a score in usability was the K-5 illustrative math. So we're thinking about how friendly it is when teachers are using it and how well students are able to interact with it. We do have some schools piloting the curriculum. There's a list of different schools here in case any of your parents are asking. I know that one of the big concerns that some families have is the idea of choosing that shared curriculum. The district is going through the process where we have some schools piloting. We're going and seeing the lessons and how students engage in each of the curriculums. We're recording videos, coming back and talking about them. And then we'll present our findings to the schools and hopefully make a well-informed decision together around what's the best one for our district. So that was a lot about the shifts. I'm just going to share a couple of ways that we can have families support at home. Yep. Did you want to share?
Can I, does that mean Common Core math is no longer being taught in the schools or will not be in 25?
No, it is Common Core. The standards are still the same. Just we found that in order to best support the students in mastering the Common Core standards, that conceptual based style learning that we just kind of engaged in here, really thinking about building our own content knowledge around the math, will support our students in better being able to master the standards. But the
So
standards
are we saying that the current curriculum doesn't work or this is just better?
I think that will support all of our students. These curriculums are more supportive for all of our students. I feel like some of the curriculums that we have now are only meeting many of our students' needs, but not all of our students' needs, right? When we look at our state exam scores, we still are around 60, I want to say like about 63%, if I remember correctly, which still means that we have 37% of our learners not meeting standards at the testing grade levels.
So does this mean that it slows down learning for the other kids?
I don't think so. I think it just helps them to really make the connections between the mathematics, right? So again, I'm sure.
Because no, I mean, because that video, they spent like 10, 15 minutes on that concept. And it seemed like, hey, what happens to the kids who already got it?
Well, that was 5 minutes, but and then they go into another one. I think though, even in the conversations that they were having, like there were some kids that last group that I showed you, where they were talking together. The one little boy, I was a little bit upset that he was changing his answer, but he hadn't thought about which three go together in the same way that some of his other classmates had. And he was like, oh, let me think about, he's like, oh, I didn't see that. And he changed his answer, but which is not necessarily the direction that we want to go in either. But we want students to see, to know that one, we all see things differently, right? And we have to be able to understand and respect each other's perspectives, but also know that like there's not only just one correct way to come to a solution, right? Especially
But math is math. There's only one correct answer, really.
I didn't say there wasn't correct. I didn't say there wasn't one correct answer. Oftentimes there is one correct answer, but there's often not only one way to get to it.
No, agreed.
Yeah. And so we're just kind of supporting the students and being able to see that.
Beth, one of the things, hi guys, Mike again, I'm listening in, but one of the things that is important about the direction that we want to head is to make sure that our kids are able to be flexible math thinkers. And when kids engage in problems today, they're no longer in the format of just the standard algorithm. You plug these numbers in and then you solve. Many of the things that our kids are experiencing today require them to first of all read what the problem is talking about, make sense of it, and then establish some kind of a plan to actually respond to it. It's not as it's certainly becoming more and more complex for our kids as thinkers, and that's what the idea of routines will allow them to do, is just be a little bit more flexible. It doesn't mean that they're still not going to learn lessons in mathematics, where there's not going to be that space where teachers are connecting with them. This is just a way for our kids to start growing as math learners in the process.
Yeah, thank you. And internalize it, right? We all went through math and learned many of the same procedures I started off with in the beginning, where it was like, identify the ratio, think about multiplying or dividing to help solve the problem. But I'm sure for some of us, it wasn't something that came to us so quickly. And so we're really supporting the students in internalizing the math. So it's something that sticks with them through the years, not just what they needed to know to pass that grade. So here are some ways that you could support the math shifts at home. Two of my favorite questions that can really lend themselves to any work that you're doing is just even, what do you notice or what do you wonder, right? So we could have even started with that, which three go together, just with those two questions, had you do some thinking about that. And really, again, you can use those questions with students as early as, 3K, really? What are you noticing here? What are some questions you have? All the way up through the grades. And so some other questions you can ask would be, what types of math questions could we ask about this? Or how might we find the answer? So thinking about things that are happening at home, what are some math questions that come about, and how might we find the answer to that? Here's just a sample of how we can use real world things in our home just to talk about what do you notice? What do you wonder, right? So we can ask kids, what do you notice? Sometimes we might think about, oh, I see some donuts. What can you tell me about the donuts? How many donuts do you see? So you're kind of prompting them through what they see. I noticed that there's different types of donuts. Kids in the upper grades might think about the fraction of yellow donuts in comparison to the rest of the donuts. We have 2 purple donuts in comparison to the other 12 donuts or so that I see there. What are some things that you're wondering? I'm wondering, if you're like me, how many calories are in all of those donuts, right? If I eat all of them, or how many calories in one donut, how many would be in all of them? And then think about, how might we come to that solution? Or how much do all of those donuts weigh? Or if we're thinking about in the middle schools, what's the circumference of a donut, right? And doing some work around that. So just even taking some simple things that we have in our house and just kind of having the math conversations about those. Other ways we can help our families support their children is to hold our child accountable for thinking through the math. Try not to tell them how to do it, but ask more questions about it before giving that answer or strategy. And then when talking about the quantities, push our kids to use things, to use the number, the unit, what the number represents in the context of the problem. And again, push for explanations. Where do you see that? What makes you think that? How do you know? We heard the teacher doing that, right? We even heard the kids talking around answering those questions for each other when they were talking. And then one of the biggest questions at home when kids come home is just, what did you learn in math today? And talk about that together. As a reminder, I have my upcoming family workshops for math. The next one is on Wednesday, December 18th from 7 to 8:15. You can register using the link in the slide deck or through the D25 website. Any other last questions before I stop? Turn it back to Esther and Jenny. All right. Other than that, thank you. Thank you really for all that you do and all the support that you provide to families as well. If anybody has any questions or needs anything, feel free to email me there, and I'd be happy to add support in any way that I can.
Yeah, thank you so much, Beth. And I couldn't see who was asking some of those questions, but I love that. So the more folks, if you get some questions that are coming from your school, I would love to hear them, because it's important that we're sharing what the overarching mindset is, especially for those that are, listen, we didn't learn math in this way, as adults. We didn't learn in the same approach that we're taking right now. So very well may raise questions, and if it does, don't hesitate, reach out to us at the district. But thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Beth, for being with us tonight and for sharing all that information. It's very exciting to see the math and where it's headed and how it's going to help our kids.
Yes, no problem. Thank you. Sorry I took a little long. I get so excited when I talk about math.
You're always welcome to come back.
Thanks.
You want to go back to the presentation, Esther? Jenny?
I can go back to the presentation. Hold on, let me share. You guys see my screen?
Yes, it's loading. All right.
It's still loading. It's very, very slow on my end too.
So we did have a PowerPoint for you guys today. Jenny put together, so.
Okay, so you see Beth's contact,
Yes.
right? So for anyone who would like to contact Beth, this is her email. I'm gonna admit someone that's coming in right now.
Did already. I did.
Okay, I'm gonna move forward to our DPAC meeting. I don't wanna
So tomorrow is our DPAC meeting. This meeting is for all Title I schools that have a PAC, Parent Advisory Committee at your school. Your chairperson attends this meeting. It's open to anybody at the school, chairperson, alternate, or the secretary of the school. They're all welcome to join. Again, should there be a vote, it's only one vote per school. So tomorrow, as you heard earlier, Tabel will be coming where they're starting to invite different vendors to come and introduce themselves. So the schools that have a 1% set aside money, they could go ahead and vote to see where they would want to spend that money to educate, not educate, but to turn key information to all the parents.
I mean,
By now, you guys should all have your external email accounts. This is for PAPTA and PAC parent leaders only. If you do not have your email now, a lot of questions have come whether you're using your Gmail account or the old. If you have a PAPTA@schools.nyc.gov, please be aware that you're no longer going to be able to use that email. That is going to be, they're going to delete all those emails, I think at the end of this month. So there's already people having trouble using that @schools.nyc gov account. Please make sure that your parent coordinator has issued you the new external email. Now, if you want to continue to use your email, I suggest you go ahead and log in to your new given external email. There's a lot of benefits of having this email. You could share folders with all the team. You could go ahead and start a PowerPoint and have somebody on the team go ahead and finish it because you're sharing everything. You have access to a lot of things that are free, like the Zoom account. You don't have to pay for that. You could go ahead and start your meetings on your own, and you have unlimited time like this meeting to go ahead and have your meetings. There's a lot of benefits. We are waiting for DIIT to give us the date on where they're going to go ahead and do a one-on-one training for all the parents to teach them all the great freebies that they could get by using and how to use this in a team. What happens at the end of the school year? At the end of the school year, since your term is only for 1 year, and say in May when you have your elections, you're no longer decide to run, the parent coordinator then goes into the portal and checks your name off. That means you no longer have access to the email, and then the next person will then go ahead and get an email issued. But any work that you did, you just drop it in the share folder and that's it. It's easier, it's simpler, but we want to make sure that you're assigned because at one point this is what they're going to be using for the share account bank account. So Jenny and I are waiting to get more information to go ahead and turn that key information here. And whenever that 101 for parents training is, we're also going to let you know either via your parent coordinator or here at this meeting. If any of you are not assigned and do not have an email account now, please email Jenny at the district office. She would more than gladly help you by setting you up. If you're on the SBLCI portal that you are a board member for your PAPTA, she's able to go ahead and give you an email account.
Yeah, I mean, the first point person should, of course, be the school's parent coordinator, but some schools might not have a parent coordinator at this time, so always feel free to reach out to me. Today I was helping Rachel, help set up her account, and then last month, I think we went through on how to start using this account. Like, where do you start when you get this account? How do you get your password? And then how do you log into the DOEs for the first time? So those steps I can definitely show to all of you on, on one of our meetings. I will be happy to do that. If Rachel, you want me to do that one day?
Sure. That'd be great, maybe for next meeting, next month.
And I mean, I'm learning along with you guys. This is also new to us. So by practicing and sharing, we all learn, right? Okay, next, I'm sorry, like stuck in the DOE external.
So your next President's Council meeting will be December 16th, and we'll go back to your regular your bylaw state every third Monday of the month. So that would be the third Monday. Again, we had to move this meeting to accommodate the chancellor that came in, last week to Junior High School 185. And for all of you who attended, thank you so much for attending and coming to Junior High School 185 or being online. We appreciate you. So again, we want to remind you that at every meeting at your school, you must have the chancellor's A660 and your school bylaws. You got to make sure that everybody's aware. You just don't decide to go ahead and have your meetings every third Monday of the month. There's a process, and you usually follow a chancellor's A660. They're the ones that go ahead and put the example. They're the ones that tell you how a PAPTA should run, how things should go. Then your PAPTA school bylaws, they're the ones that go ahead and, specify it to your school. So chancellor's regulation, quorum is 8. That should be across the board. You shouldn't have 20 people as your quorum at your PAPTA, even though it's well attended. I would always leave it according to what chancellor's regulation said 8. What about if one day it's snowing and nobody comes to the building, and then you're not going to have quorum? So you want to follow chancellor's regulation closely as you can, and make sure that you have those available, and always refer to chancellor's regulation and your PAPTA for answers. And every school is different in the terms of, meeting and times, etc. Some schools have committees for everything. Some schools just have the board. So that's what I mean by different. But other in general, you have to have 10 meetings a year. You have to have elections. You have to have a nominating committee. You have to have a bank account with only 2 to 3 signatures, etc. And all that information is in your A660 and school bylaws. These are, again, helpful websites where you could go ahead and get all the answers. As you know, we have our District 25 website. If you say, for example, you saw Beth today and you think about tomorrow and you have a question for her, but you don't remember her email, you don't remember anything else, you just log into the thing, and we're www.d25.nyc. You go to contact us and you see her picture, click on her, and it's going to go directly to her email. You could send her an email. Hey, I was at President's Council. I was thinking about this question. Can you please, and she'll go ahead and answer or share it with Dr. Mike. And then, they'll go ahead and make sure that you get an answer. But that goes across everybody at the district. You just see their picture, click on it, and you're able to go ahead and email them. The DOE website is very informative. It has everything that you need to go ahead and run a successful PAPTA meeting. And there's also, it has all the guidelines and everything that you need. And also PAPTA Link, which is that parent group that started in Brooklyn. There were lawyers, and then now it went ahead, and now it's
Oh, I'm sorry.
a nonprofit, but they're still available, and they're going to come to your meeting to go ahead and introduce themselves. On that website, pta.link, there's a lot of information should you need to find out anything that you need to find out in regards to PAPTA. They did an excellent job of putting together a website to answer all the questions and make it simple so that parents go ahead and understand. Now, if at your PAPTA, at your school, they've been doing something wrong and you find out or you read, moving forward, you don't go to the meeting and say, oh, President's Council said that we could only have 8 people as quorum. You go ahead and bring it up, and then you go ahead and do the steps. But it's not, you didn't know, so moving forward, we go ahead and correct it. We're all learning, and we're all in this together, so it's not like, oh, you're bad. No, we just move forward when we know that we're doing something incorrectly. Next, please. And then we just want to share some highlights of the district. We had an iReady parent workshop, and this was at PS 107. It was well attended, where the parents got to deep dive and learn how to go ahead and do the iReady and learn how to read it, not just log in. And so there was help there. Everybody got an iPad and was able to go ahead and learn more about iReady. Next. So as you know, the chancellor came to town. She came to junior high school 185. We are the first district in her rollout to come to the district. So we are the first district that hosted her, and she's gonna go ahead and go around. There is 4 major townhouses that she's gonna go in all the boroughs. She's gonna go to each one of them. If you get an opportunity to attend, please make sure you register. And these are some of the pictures with, so basically the Community Education Council went ahead and hosted this town hall at our school in conjunction with District 25. As you can see there, Dr. Mike with the chancellor and all of the CEC members and some of our District 25 staff there. So you can see the pictures. It was very well attended. We had performances for students that were really, really nice. We also had our Thanksgiving walk. And so we were collecting cans for the local food bank. A lot of people brought in cans of all kinds of different cans, rice. There was a lot of food that was collected for that bank, for the food bank. And there was giveaways. They also got meth. And I want to tell you that Diane Stein from our office, she rocks. She's the one with the connections. She got a lot of the people to go ahead and come and donate. And she's really, really good. She's our, and she's also going to come to one of your meetings so she could go ahead and tell you all the stuff that she does in our district. But of course, all of us together helped. There was a bunch of books. There were teachers that volunteered to come and help us pass out the books. So it was really well attended, and look out because there'll be more of these coming. And again, these are just upcoming events. Again, you could always visit our website at d25.nyc events for any update events that are coming. That you could share with your PAPTA. Most of these events are virtual, so you could go ahead and log on and go ahead and join the different instructional lead people in our district. So you could go ahead, as Beth mentioned, there's a math one coming, there's like Arcadians, there's English language learners. That one, the first one was in Chinese, the second one's in Spanish, and there's iReady. Special education by Nathan. You have the different dates. There's more than one date. Next.
So these are all the enrollment dates. Dr. Mice has already presented them. So I'm gonna just skip the slide since he already went through all the kindergarten, middle school, high school, pre-K, and gift and talented.
So again, he did talk about having that free adult education English as second language known as ESL classes. And as you know, we have over 400 participants, and he did mention different sites where they're hosting it. It's been very well received by the community. And so we want to give a big shout out to all the people who are, to all the people, the staff at the different schools that are handling this adult education that is very well received in our community. And again, I think Dr. Mike talked about this. We are getting Monday, the 23rd off, just to add to your vacation, your holiday time off. Thanks to that student that went ahead and started the petition. And just to let you know, our next meeting will be on Monday, December 16th at 6:30 via the link. We're going to stop sharing now. And with that, I want to tell you guys, I think a lot of you know that this is my last meeting with District 25. My last day was on Friday, but I came to help out, and I'm willing to help out anytime that you guys need me.
Thank you, Esther, for being here. We really appreciate you.
So I've been doing this for 14 years, so it's like comes to me as second nature. So anything that you guys need, I don't hesitate to call me and I'll help you guys out. And that's it.
We will miss you, Esther, very much. I'm glad your first
Miss
day
you
went
guys.
well.
My first day went very well, except that I ended up so I have a
Esther,
Back
for those
every
of you that
Monday.
For those of you that don't know, Esther was in the district for 14 years. I had the pleasure of working with Esther for 9 of those 14 years. And it's very, very bittersweet for me. I'm happy that she's going to be able to do something that's closer to home. But a lot of bit sad that she's going to be leaving us here in District 25. But she knows that I'm going to still be a pest and bother her whenever I can. And certainly make sure that she's always there to support District 25 anyway. So
That makes two of
even
us.
though you're moving a little bit, Esther, you're not going to be allowed to go too far. So thank you for all that you have done, and I know will continue to do to help us out.
And tomorrow, if you're coming to the PAC meeting, DPAC meeting, I'll be there again.
We're gonna invite
You
you.
just don't want to leave. You really don't want to leave.
She has a half foot in and a half foot out.
Foot
So
out, I'm
we'll hold her back.
You have your half foot in, you have your half foot
I'm just
out.
gonna hold on to the 1 foot, and we'll keep pulling on it until it stays where it's stuck.
Well,
Yeah, good meeting
so in the
people.
evening, I mean, if
Yes,
you see Esther, Rachel, and I will, be so happy to have you come back for that Monday of the month.
Bye. Good luck.
Hi, thank you. Somebody said she is great, and Viva Frida Kahlo for Esther. Yay! I love Frida Kahlo. All right, Rachel, your meetings, I think, come to an end, 8:23.
Okay, it's 8:23. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Anyone can unmute and make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Great, thank you. Could someone second the motion, please?
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, it's 8:23. The meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you all for staying through the end. It was a great meeting and we appreciate everyone's participation. And we'll see you in December.
Have a great night. Happy Thanksgiving,
Good morning,
everyone.
Yeah,
everybody.
happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes.
You too.
Esther, can you stay on for 1 second?
Yep.
Thank you.
We always stick around.